Well, hello, my friend. My name is Joe Bakhmutsky. I'm the founder of Power to Be Happy and also the author of Finding Hope in Times of Uncertainty, a guide to thriving in a challenging world of today. And listen, the world today that we live in right now, it is so much more complex and so much more multi-layered than it's ever been before, right? Like, there is just an incredible amount of uncertainty, and sometimes you don't know where to turn or how to really figure things out. And that's why clarity can be so crucial in helping you to really get a perspective of what is really going on around you, and what you want out of life, and how to think about the future, and most importantly, how to really make decisions quickly, but also how to make decisions that you won't regret, right? Because we all go through those situations in life when you make a decision, but then you kind of look back on it and you go, well, that wasn't right. And we face so many of those situations in our lives today, right? Because nothing is black and white anymore, right? There's so many shades of gray. There's so many different things that you make decision on, and that's why it gets so tough. So let's say you're moving house, for example, right? You gotta consider, like, well, what is the area like? Like, how much is this house gonna cost? Like, is it gonna be suitable for us in terms of like size, and does it have a backyard? Does it have light? How far are the shops? You got to consider so many things in order to make a decision. And sometimes if you're choosing with your partner or whatever the situation might be, right? Sometimes you've got all these different different perspectives and different opinions. So it's so hard to make decisions about pretty much anything in our life. And that's where clarity and finding clarity is so crucial. And that's what we really talk about today. And really, the first thing that I need to tell you about clarity is that we need to look at it from a perspective of one situation at a time. Because there's just so much going on, right? And that's why it feels oftentimes so overwhelming, because you've got all of these different situations that really demand your attention, and you kind of spreading yourself thin. That's why we really want to be picking out one situation at a time and looking at that situation. And like we were talking about moving house, and picking out one key distinction that is going to really stand out for you. That is going to really kind of help you to make a decision that's going to be right for you. There's so many different distinctions, like we talked about, with moving house. There's the price, there's the location, there's how far is it from where you need to go. But there's all these different things, and it's almost impossible to find something that's going to just be perfect in all those fronts. Right? So it's so important to choose one key distinction and go with that. So the one question you really want to be asking yourself in any situation that really demands clarity is, what is it that I need in this situation the most, and why? Because when you can pick out that one key distinction and also understand why is it important to you, why is it a big deal for you, you can not only pick out why it's important, but you also put in the personal rationale on the line. Now it's real. Now it's personal. Now it's meaningful to you. So you are making a decision on something that is aligned with your core values. And that's huge. So that's one thing. You ask the question is, what is it that I need in this situation the most, and why? And the second thing, there's only two things I believe you gotta do to find clarity in any given situation, is then ask, well, what is the next best step that I can take forward? Like for me, one of the, I guess, biggest decisions I had to make in my life was when I was going through cancer. I've been through surgery and I ended up in my oncologist office. And I remember it was just this huge room just filled with light. I remember him sitting down and really talking to me about my life and kind of, how's everything going. And he kind of talked to me. He said, well, there's really two different ways that we can go. Like one, we can go with radiation therapy. And that's only going to be a couple of weeks. It's not too intense in terms of side effects, but, it might not take away the cancer depending on whether it's spread, beyond your abdominal and chest. And the other way that we can go is we can go with chemotherapy, which is a lot more intense. You're going to spend a lot of time in the hospital. There's going to be multiple side effects. There's going to be multiple potential after effects, the things that you could be living with for the rest of your life or for extended periods of time that you might really not like. But that has that much higher chances of getting rid of cancer. And so he said, I'll set you up with a radiation oncologist. He can tell you also more about radiotherapy. But go ahead, have a think about it. Come back to me next week and let me know which way you want to go. And I was sitting there thinking, what? What are you talking about, man? I mean, you're the expert. You're supposed to tell me what to do. I have no idea. And so I was just panicking about this. I was like, what do I do? Like, which way do I go? I'm just a regular guy. How do I make decisions about this sort of stuff? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this is my opportunity to, bring some of that power back into my life, but also restore some of that clarity. And I thought, what is the most important thing in my life right now? What is important in this situation? What is it that I really want out of this? I want to get rid of cancer. I want this thing to do everything in my power to know that it's gone. No matter what happens, I'll deal with whatever needs to happen, but I want it out of myself. I thought, why is that a big deal for me? I thought, because I want to be with my family. My son was 2 years old at the time, and I just wanted to be with my family and just enjoy that time and be there for them. And that was such a hugely personal thing for me in that moment of my life. And so that's what I made the decision on. So when that question came up for me, really what is it that I need in this situation the most and why? That was the answer. That's what came to me. And I also had a personal reason that was attached with that. And so I thought, what is the next best step that I can do? And in that case, it was easy. I could come back to my specialist, come back to my oncologist, and tell him, hey, listen, that's the way that I want to go. And it made my life so much easier because I went with that decision. I never looked back, even when I had all the side effects, when I had all of that going on, because I knew what was right for me, the one thing that was key and why it was important. And also I decided what is the next best step forward. It doesn't mean that everything else from that point was easy. In fact, it was tough. You know what it's like. You know what it's like when you're in a tough sport and sometimes it's kind of just things keep on falling on you from all sorts of places. It's hard. But it helped me to get a sense of who I am so I can move forward on my terms. And that was made the biggest difference for me. Right? There was many other situations I had to sort through, but I sorted through one of those things. I made my decision. I had more clarity in that moment, and that made it easier to move forward and deal with the next thing. And that's what I believe is what it's all about. Finding clarity in such a way that it's going to make you make the best decision that you can in that moment. And that's why when you go through this simple process to really pick out and ask yourself, what is it that I need in this situation the most and why? When you can say, well, what is my next best step forward? One step, not a million steps, one step. What is the next thing I can do forward? And that is going to take you that much further, my friend. That gives you clarity, that gives you kind of a different outlook on things. And now, if you're in another situation that again demands clarity, well, you can go through the same quick process as well to help you pick out and really chart your best way forward. My name is Joe Bakhmutsky. As you know, I'm a founder of Power to Be Happy and the author of Finding Hope in Times of Uncertainty, a guide to thriving in the challenging world of today. I hope this has served you. I hope it's been helpful. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you soon.